Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, depends where you are globally. We're just gonna have or get some, a few minutes for additional people to join us. We already have a large amount of people that already opened the webinar, registered. I might say, over 250 people registered to this webinar, so thank you very much. But let's have a few more minutes to let people join in. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start today a very cool webinar. Uh, First of all, I would like to just introduce myself and a little bit about CodeBlue for the newcomers. So my name is Nir Yaniv, and I'm the global CRO of CodeBlue. I'm also a certified Chief Cyber Crisis Manager for the company. And I'm very happy to have everyone today from around the world. CodeBlue is a leader in cyber crisis management around the world. We manage over 1,500 crisis hours average every month and successfully recovering company from any kind of scenario, from total ransomware and up to full recovery in less than 6 days. The company was formed by Mr. Rafael Franco, the former deputy director of the Israeli IMCD, and has a lot of experts that are in-house, the entire umbrella you actually need in order to manage a cyber crisis globally and effectively without subcontractors. We do it all by ourselves and with the help of a great product we developed over the years called the Blue Castle, which you'll have a chance to see today as a part of the case study. I will show you how does it look to work with a tool that actually helps you manage a cyber crisis. So without further ado, let's start this webinar. So the way it's going to be is that we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about how does it happen that the case study is about a huge technology company. It's an Israeli branch of an American global conglomerate. I would, of course, not mention their names because it's confidential. You might see during the presentation some things that blacken their names, but just to be appropriate. We're going to find out and understand how does a state-level sophisticated attacker got to the point that he actually can collapse an entire company? What was the human factor from the attacker side point of view, but also from the company or the client's point of view? What actually is the role of reputation management in a cyber crisis? And eventually to understand that resilience is the most important thing to have when you're preparing and handling these things, to be able to anticipate what would happen, what would be the worst case scenario, to be able to absorb the blow and still function under cyber crisis, and eventually adapt and overcome, which is, over not only a slogan, something that we really believe in CodeBlue. When we're talking about a cyber crisis, you can imagine that people are thinking about incident response, computers, networks, infrastructure, breaches, attackers, people in hoodies, the infrastructure, collaboration with security, codings, and stuff like that. But it's really, really, really much more. And I want to talk a little bit about the psychology behind a cyber crisis, because the human factor has great significance in either succeeding to manage and overcome a cyber crisis or as a failure factor. The way we handle a cyber crisis is very similar to the way you handle any crisis in your life. If you don't understand what's going to happen and suddenly it actually happens and you're unprepared, you don't have the right tools, the knowledge to do that, then of course you feel uncomfortable. And when you're feeling uncomfortable and start pulling answers and solutions, from the hip without aiming correctly, without having the ability to be accurate, then things can go sideways very fast. And we see that constantly around the world. It's not about a specific segment or about a specific people or about a specific attack. It can be a very small attack or a very big attack, but the way the company handles itself and the way management are able to manage the crisis, that's what actually makes a lot of difference in the outcome of this scenario. And today I'm going to talk about it a little bit because I think it is a major factor, especially for me when I manage a cyber crisis, is to also address these things. I think that what expects from me as a cyber crisis manager is to be able to be a very solid rock for companies that can crush on and to hold on in times of crisis, and also to show them the light, which way they need to go and how they should do it properly. Um, and I think this is one of the really key factors. So let's talk about our incident today. Again, a huge technology company that has its own cloud that supports, that provides SaaS applications and SaaS solutions to its clients. It's a branch of a huge American conglomerate. And the things that they are facing starts with this. If you look at the screen, sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but that's the quality you get from small things in the darknet. We're talking about an attack group called Handala. Handala, for those who doesn't know what I'm talking about, is one of the major state-level attackers from Iran. They're a global supporter of terrorists. You see them constantly. If you're familiar with this logo and this brand picture that shows on terrorists and hacktivists, because they, unlike other state-level attackers, with actually has the motivation to gather information, intelligence, maybe create damage, steal some importance, commercial or other state information. Handala is mainly doing creating chaos, and were able to brand themselves not only as a terrorist group, which we all know they are, but as hacktivists. The majority of their actions, of course, are targeting Israeli companies because of all the geopolitical situation that happens now in the Middle East, but not only. Also, Israeli supporters, countries that are supporting Israel, companies are supporting Israel, and so on. They don't do it for money. This is not their motivation, and it's very important to understand this situation if you ever handle Handala. It starts again, what you see here. These are some screenshots from the Handala website in the darknet, their leak website, where they actually published what they did. Over here, I'm sorry, I had to blacken the name of the company, but basically what they're saying here is that they have erased 51 terabyte of data from that specific company, as you can see on the bottom right side on the right screenshot. 51 terabyte of data has been erased, probably was stolen for various motivations, creating chaos, putting it on the darknet, threatening people. That's what they do as a terrorist organization. And this is how it starts. And the company doesn't see it straightforward in the beginning. So nobody, unless you have a very sophisticated intelligence capabilities, or you're using the Blue Castle capabilities, these things tend to be hidden in the darknet. Not all of us are going there and chatting and looking, but the people who does look for these things in the darknet are the bloggers, professional bloggers like this one. I'm sorry, it's in Hebrew, but basically it's a very well-known blogger that has a Telegram channel, that this is what he does. And he's not alone. There are many of them around the world that this is what they do. It's not something bad. This is how they make a living, and it's okay. And sometimes, as a company that assists organizations worldwide, we sometimes also use their services to provide the ability to give information on top of the platform. But in this case, they're looking for things that happen over in the darknet. And what they found is the leak that Handala published on the leak website, and that goes on Telegram. And the road or the path from Telegram into the mainstream media is very short. And at this point, the company is aware of this situation because their CISO does monitor the Telegram and that specific channel. And it becomes very imminent that we have an issue. I mean, the company, first of all, doesn't feel any payload, doesn't feel that anything had happened to them. Everything appears to work normally, and it's very, very frustrating. You have to understand. The management is not aware of it at this point. What happened is that the CISO gave us a call and said, "Hey, this is what happened. This is what I see." He said, "Yeah, we see it as well. What should we do? What should we do about it? What needs to be done?" And I think, at this point, the CISO was shaking. Okay, he's a great guy, great professional, but because it's not going into the standard schematics, an attack, something doesn't work, activate the protocol, change something in the network, block the attack, something that he does have on his protocol. This doesn't have a protocol in the company, normal company. He does have because he has Code Blue services. But he says, what should I do? He's a CISO. He's not a PR guy. He's not a reputational management guy. What should he do? Should he go to the management? What kind of task that needs to be done? What kind of things does he need to check? All these things are very frustrating. And because it takes a lot of things to do in a very short time. As I said, from the Telegram to the main media, it takes really a very short time. What I want to show you, just for an example, so if I'm looking at the Blue Castle at this issue right now, I see all the tasks that were generated by the platform. Because it's a past incident, you see that most of them are done, but try to imagine how it was during progress. You see all these tasks generated. It's very, very important to understand what needs to be done or what the things that he has to do now or later, what is the priority, and also to synchronize between different kind of actions in order to take advantages of the protocols, the knowledge, the experience that he has with our capabilities, what needs to be done right now in order to block it. And the main thing right now, because we don't see any operational problem, is to prevent this thing from going viral. Because if this would go viral, then the amount of damages that it can inflict the company is just huge. It's like a stone you throw in a lake and you'll see the circles just expanding and expanding forever. These things will have huge ramification if it does go out into the mainstream media. And we activating the protocol. First of all, internally, to who needs to know, what needs to know, how they need to know it, who should tell them, and what he should tell them, and so on. Of course, we notify the management according to protocol, and we provide them the script in order for them to be able to say whatever they need to say and to whom they need to say it in case somebody would call. And we're talking about clients, we're talking about global clients, talking about employees that may hear about it because they look at the Telegram as well. We're talking about stakeholders, investors, of course, the mother company in the US. If something, God forbid, something happened over here, they might think about him disconnecting and so on. So it's very, very important to be able to control when you're talking about, and we will talk about it shortly about reputation management, but to be able to control the narrative and not be led into the narrative, it's something that we in Code Blue put a lot of effort in order to manage it correctly. At the end of it, if you look at the anatomy of what the attacker did, So I tried to put everything in one slide so we would be able to see the flow. So basically, the attacker did use, of course, the human factor is something that we all talk about all the time. Okay, but the attacker exploit the fact that one of the employees that is working on the cloud infrastructure was using the same password he uses for work on his Google accounts, on his private Google accounts, which of course was not protected properly. Harvesting this information in the initial access to the account using manipulation and social engineering, eventually provide the credentials to the attacker to go into the network. And they established a long-term presence, meaning they were doing legitimate actions within the network in order for them not to be found or stopped by the defense systems and so on. And they did it very slowly. So we could see with whatever we had during the investigation, they were moving slowly, lateral movement within the organization, taking strong hold on specific things until they felt comfortable. They did also internal credential harvesting in order to bypass the security technology. Quite interesting. They use Telegram channels as command and control, meaning that everything they led from the network, everything that they did, every email they stole, every action they made were ran into the Telegram channel they operated, and they ran commands to their malware within the organization using Telegram. Eventually, they actually went inside an environment that was hacked by them and did erased 51 terabytes of data. And I think it shows sophistication. State level attackers has different motivations than ransom attackers, than just hacktivists that want to show themselves that would maybe change your website and put different pictures and do things like that. State level attackers really want to make a stamp. They really want to put a stamp on everything, want to make sure that whatever they do has a huge effect. And that's what they actually did. Of course, the major threat or the major risk we could identify, except from the fact that they actually erased 51 terabytes of data, is their access to sensitive information. And we're talking about sensitive information because, of course, regulation-wise, privacy-wise, compliance-wise, this is a huge risk for the company that is providing SaaS application solutions that holds, everything that you can think of on sensitive data. So having this kind of data breached is a major risk for the company. It's for us as crisis managers, we would be, looking at what would be the next step. Who's going to call us? Privacy Authority, GDPR. We're going to have the regulator, the INCD calling us. I don't know who, because it's such a huge amount of data that it's probably going to step into everybody's radar. The ISA, I don't know who, security agencies, maybe the FBI, I don't know. So it's something that as crisis managers, we need to think and look what will be the next steps that actually going to happen and prepare for that. Remember, anticipate, be able to anticipate the things, the next steps. And that comes from experience. And of course, if you don't have the experience to do it by yourself, again, I will show the screen, you have the Blue Castle to do it so. The Blue Castle will generate for you not only the task, he will give you the threat reference scenarios, the business processes you need to take care of. It will generate your insight and will tell you what the risks that poses from each and every verticals you're running right now. PR, legal, incident response, and CMT. So having a tool like that helps a lot, especially when you don't have the right experience. Let's step and move forward and talk about the human factor. The human factor, first of all, on the attacker side. Okay, using social engineering to get access is, I think, the number one way of getting access to organizations these days. If not the number one, then the number two. Because attackers globally understood that it's easier than trying to breach through a security measure or trying to breach a network which is secured by, it's a benchmark to secure your company. So I think it's very difficult. Okay. From my past, I was a security officer for the airlines. So I can tell you that, it's very, very difficult to put a bomb on a plane if you come with it in your suitcase. But if you do something sophisticated, then it's very difficult to detect. And also here, today with AI and everything that people are doing around the world, it's very, very difficult. I can be somebody's friend on Facebook and put a whole life there, and then, get somebody from that specific company to be interested in my profile and starting to transfer some pictures and talk with him on Facebook and stuff like that. And eventually send him a picture that on top of that picture, there will be a malware that he will touch and download, unfortunately, to his mobile device, his computers, and so on and so on. And then find his way slowly into his organization. And that's the first thing that they do. So the human factor, again, on the attacker side is very, very eminent. It's very, very popular for them to use. And Handala, not only doing that, they use the human factor on both aspects, not only for the penetration to the organization, but also to create a lot of propaganda. Don't forget, they published online, it's now going in Telegram, whatever they did to this company. First of all, it puts them as a big activist. We're the best. We do stuff like that. This is one human factor. And eventually, if they're not successful with the actual theft of the data, with the actual attack, with the actual deletion, the delete of the entire company, which this is what they're first aimed to. So secondary, they have a propaganda. It's a propaganda attack. It's a secondary propaganda. If you had ransomware and you had double ransomware, triple ransomware, quadrum ransomware, and so on, look at this attack. This attack provides you, they're trying to wipe the company. They're trying to steal data, and they're trying to smear the organization and do propaganda in this case. So again, human factor on propaganda aspects. From the company point of view, it's of course it's a problem. Multiple aspects on multiple disciplinary levels, creating priority issues. It means that when a propaganda like that actually happens, it creates diversion. It's a smoke screen. You suddenly find yourself talking about this in the status meetings, talking about what it should be, when the regulator is going to call, you forget about the recovery aspect. And this is why you should have somebody that has that experience to tell you, listen, working on this vertical, this vertical, this vertical, and this one in parallel. You cannot neglect one of the things because right now the other stuff is making more noise. You have to look at the priority and decide what needs to be done first with a clear mind. And you can do that when you're resilient, when you have things in place, when you practice it, when you have the right people next to you. So it's very, very important to understand this is a smoke screen, to try and work it out with the reputational team and regulation team and compliance team and legal team in parallel of handling and finding out the real facts of what actually happened. Okay, did this 51 terabyte of data were actually stolen? Okay, did they actually wipe it out? I remind you, at this point with this attack, we don't see anything. The company is working properly. Okay, reputational issues, we said it's something that causes a lot of things, but it's tend to neglect. Some organizations forget about this. They say, guys, we need to fix up the infrastructure, fix up the network, make sure everything works, put it back online, forget about this bullshit. But, excuse my French, but we cannot forget about it. Everything is intertwined together. Running a cyber crisis is not a two-dimensional dilemma. It's not a fire in the office. Everybody goes work from home and use your Wi-Fi. No, it has so many complexities and so many layers that you need to understand how to cooperate, how to coordinate between them. And just to give you another short example about how you do it normally, don't forget that eventually, we all work not always on our computers. We use, in Israel, it's very common to use WhatsApp, but other communication protocols that helps you do things on the move. Not everything stops. When you communicate on the communication protocol, on WhatsApp in this case, you get tasks that are generated, you get insights that are generated from this organization to provide you the knowledge what needs to be done. And this is very important to understand. Let's go a little bit about deeper into the reputational aspects. And I put here a slide for you to describe what needs to be done in this kind of situation. So the reputational management blueprint or strategic incident response, for that matter, would be split into two parts. Okay, first of all is, as I said, manage the reputation and not be led into the tasks. Don't be surprised when somebody is calling you. Anticipate when that person is going to call me. Be prepared, have the screens, the script with you, understand who is going to answer, when and why and how. Establish a single narrative point of view, push it and push it constantly in order to strengthen that narrative. Don't zigzag, because when you zigzag between narratives, you're lying. Doesn't matter if you tell the truth. Outside, it looks like you're lying. And synchronize, very tight synchronization between stakeholders and messaging. It's very, very important to synchronize between the legal reporting or compliance reporting that needs to be done to regulators and so on. And of course, the messaging you say to your employees, because the next thing you know, an employee is texting on WhatsApp things that he heard in the company. If that's not synchronized with what you told the privacy authority or the FBI or the ISA or the INCD, this is going to be an issue. And you don't want the regulator coming knocking on your door saying, move away, that's my investigation now. And you're not going to go up in the air until I'm finishing that, because that's going to take a long time. Prioritize customer assurance. If you're dealing with customers, it's very important that the messaging you provide would be calming messages, control messages. If you have if you have call centers, you have to brief them. You have to bring them the script and the scenarios that you want them to talk about. Market assurance and external needed. Of course, if you have investors, if you have suppliers who are connected into your infrastructure in order to provide service as a third application suppliers or other supply chain, you have to reassure them that whatever you do is deeply investigated, handled properly with a proper structure. And I'm confident, because I've done it so many times, telling you that if you have a straight line, a very tough framing of what you do, a very strong understanding of what you're doing and how you do it, and you can project it to your supply chain, to stakeholders, to employees, everybody would understand that you are in control. If you don't know how to do it, it's starting to rock the boat a little bit. And that's going to create additional issues. In this specific case, I just put again another slide for you to understand what did Code Blue did. Because in this incident, it's very important to understand that this incident was at a client that we assisted and prepared for this specific issue. Exactly, as you can see, in the blue castle, the red Resilience Everyday module allows you to be prepared for this situation. You have the assessments, you have your insights from intelligence services, you have the tasks that you can follow up, the assessment vulnerabilities, the Gantt and the playbooks that you already put inside, digitalized your BCP, a reference scenario already in place, alert level in place, and everything is here in order to allow us helping our client be better and be better resilient and be stronger when cyber crises occur. So Code Blue, what we did according to the playbooks, according to the Blue Castle that we use in this incident, is first of all, our incident response team knows the client's infrastructure. They immediately were able to eradicate and segment between the different areas, understand to contain the environments, the different environments as we put and prepared and trained for that in advance. They knew exactly where to go. They knew to activate our agents, the Raptors, inside the network in order to start accumulating and analyze logs from 0 hour, okay, immediately when we got the call. And then after containment, eradicating, making sure that everything that we thought was compromised is actually cleared, doing all the things that needs to be done in order to make sure that the attacker would not be able to come back, help the organization to recover and to provide him security protocols and measure it. We provide all the forensic investigation knowledge. We created a report for them. We were able also to provide meetings with the mother company in the United States to reassure them what was done, how it was done, and that it will not happen again. And of course, we helping them in the recovery and the hardening of the infrastructure. And this comes from deep preparedness. Of course, we do it for clients that are random clients, but it's just working better when you are prepared. And it's very, very important to understand. Of course, we knew which procedures to check first and which business procedures are more important, which one were less. The priority was visible. Eventually, what we found out, just to let you know how this event actually ended up, they did actually erase 51 terabytes of data, but from actually a location that was for testings. There was nothing real over there. They were all like testing labs for the organization. That's why it was very heavy. And the files over there were fabricated for training sessions and testing sessions of different kind of features and application the company developed. They forgot to block this from the internet, or forgot to block people to have access, people who are not authorized to have access to this location. The other ones were segmented, protected, and eventually, because we were able to prepare the company properly, we were able to tell them, for example, which segment needs to have proper encryption, if they may, in order to protect it properly if somebody would come stealing it. So if somebody would eventually go into these places which are more sensitive and steal that data, it wouldn't help them at all. But eventually, this entire thing we were talking about didn't take more than 48 hours. That's the beauty of everything. Think about it. All the cyber crises you're reading about around the world, Jaguar, Marks and Spencer, and these very famous attacks around the world, some of them are taking place still for more than 6 months. Now, these are companies with deep pockets. Think about what would happen to your company. How would you like to handle this situation? Do you have enough money? Do you have cyber insurance to handle it, to cover your losses? But most important thing is to talk about the resilience. Resilience first. When you're talking about resilience, when you're thinking about resilience, then eventually the entire crisis looks different. You can't say, these times have passed already. You can't think or say, okay, you know what? When it will happen, it will happen. I will handle it. When we came to the bridge, we'll cross it. It doesn't work anymore in the world we live in. There are threat actors that are multiplying constantly. The AI revolution is doing wonders to their attack capabilities. They're doing wonders also for our lack of protection and more, and these things are working both ways. So if you're looking at the what we have to handle today, the attack surface used to be before COVID very small. Now it's just huge. People are working from home with different networks, different computers, using VPN, doesn't use VPN, use secure connection or doesn't, is just bigger than what it used to be. The AI revolution, the attackers, the attack groups that are growing like mushrooms after the rain. These, just to let you know and understand the world we're living in, they made more money in cyber attacks than dealing drugs in 2025. It's just becoming more lucrative and much more profitable doing cyber attacks than dealing drugs, smuggling drugs, people, weapon, or whatever they do. And therefore, they're becoming the third largest economy after the US and China. And this is the world we're living in. The security is not enough. Social engineering is booming. AI is just accelerating the social engineering capabilities. And we have to be resilient. It's not enough to be protected. To be protected, it's a benchmark. Everybody has to be protected in different levels, of course. Companies who are small or companies who are big at different protection levels, and that's understandable. And therefore, there are benchmarks in the insurance, in the security world, and so on. But being resilient, everybody needs to be resilient. Everybody needs to be able to anticipate what's going to happen, to be able to absorb the blow, to be able to function during crisis, and to be able to overcome these scenarios. Study and implement the lesson learned. And for that, you can use a tool, and you can use a company that has the experience to do that. And when you're doing everything within your power in order to be prepared, you will succeed and you will win and you will overcome this situation. So resilience first is making sure that your organization can measure your preparedness level. As you saw in the Blue Castle, I can measure it. I can give you an understanding. What is my position? What needs to be done? What are my next steps? What is my plan? Make sure you have reference scenario and digital BCP in place, because if you have a great BCP, but nobody uses it during crisis, then what is it worth? Make sure your emergency playbooks are available and update. Train your people and use a tool, an experienced expert to assist you during crisis. I'm going to stop at this point saying thank you to you guys. And I want to leave time for questions. So please feel free to ask any question you want, and I'll try to answer it. Let's see. So attackers can see the password and security questions. The answer is, how can we manage it? Uh, Not always they can see the password, to tell you the truth. Passwords are visible if the attacker is living inside your network or sitting on your email. But if you do a multi-factor authentication to a mobile device, they don't sit on your mobile device the majority of the time. Therefore, if you have proper IT company or security personnel in your company, then you can configure your two-factor authentication accordingly. Why would a business leave 51 terabytes of false data? Yeah. This is a good question. Nobody should leave any kind of unused data available, because you don't know what the next thing to do. You don't know if this data would be something, to handle, or something that would cost you more damage in the future, especially if you're keeping sensitive data. It's common knowledge and standard basic situation to erase it constantly or move it to offline archives if you need to keep it for regulation purposes. How does someone transition into a role like this? If you're talking about my role, I had a lot of experience on the security market. I did crisis management training with the Department of the Homeland Security in the United States. But also, I did a lot of it during my military service. But I think that it depends. First of all, you have to like it. It's not something that everybody can get used to, especially not your family, because it finds you working in a very strange hours of the day and night. So you can either study that on university, but eventually you have to just get the right experience and just join a company that actually can provide you the ability to have this experience and try to use a tool. A tool would help you to understand what's going on and will assist people who doesn't have that kind of experience to gain more experience and eventually with a system to overcome. And together it's like a synergy. Um, any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much for participating. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm waiting for the next time, preparing additional interesting things for you. Have a great day wherever you are. Don't forget, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So it's exactly that time. And see you next time. Thank you very much.